This is Valley News Live at noon.
Thanks for joining us this afternoon. I'm JC Dodd. North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum just wrapped up his State of the State address. Some of the topics he talked about were inflation, unemployment, and the pandemic. In the past year, the national inflation rate has risen to 7.5%, and prices have continued to soar. North Dakota's unemployment rate sits at 3.1%. Earlier this week, he announced the State Department of Commerce chose Grand Farm for a $10 million matching grant focusing on advancing agricultural technology.
To be a North Dakotan in 2022 means that we're living in a land of incredible opportunity. Ours is clearly a state that's been blessed with abundant natural resources and some of the richest and most productive soil.
In the address, the governor also declared this week as Nurses Week in North Dakota to honor nurses for their hard work during the pandemic. We'll have his full recap of his speech tonight on Valley News Live at 5. It may be fairly sunny outside and temperatures will remain steady, but we could possibly see some issues on the road this afternoon. Let's go to Summer Schnellbach with a quick look at the weather. Summer.
Thank you so much, JC, and good afternoon, everyone. We've got just a couple of clouds filtering in to the Fargo area right now. This is looking at our Luther Family Ford Skycam in South Fargo, but temperatures, they're really not a lot warmer than we were this morning. We're seeing only 4 degrees in Devil's Lake, some teens throughout the rest of our region. And right through the center of the valley, we have a band of some cloud cover, and even a few flurries are showing up on radar from Crookston down into Ada and even into Castleton. You might see a few flakes here soon, but we're anticipating some more wind later on. Here's a recent snapshot along I-29 near Grand Forks. The sun is shining bright, but there's some wind creating some low visibility. It's hard to see where that road is headed. We're seeing a gust to 30 miles per hour in Langdon right now. Sustained winds out of the northwest at 22 miles per hour, and we're gusting to 28 miles per hour in Valley City. JC, we're continuing to see the wind pick up this afternoon. I'll have your hour-by-hour forecast and a look ahead to our first alert weather day for Friday. Lots to go over, and then another system next week, so be sure to stick around.
Lots to go over, Summer. Thank you very much. New at noon, authorities want your help finding a missing man. They say Aaron Pelter hasn't been seen since February 4th in Rowlett County. His picture is up on your screen. If you have any information on where he could be, call authorities. The state fire marshal is headed to Stutsman County today to look for the cause of a fire that destroyed a home in Ypsilanti. The call came in just after noon yesterday. A county deputy responded and found the place engulfed in flames. Firefighters couldn't save the house, but worked more than 6 hours to protect nearby homes. The homeowners were not home at the time of the fire. Their cats died, and a neighbor was taken to the hospital for smoke inhalation. The U.S. says Russia has amassed more than 150,000 soldiers near Ukraine's borders, and those forces are prepared to attack at any moment. But Russia is denying its plans to attack and says those forces have been participating in military exercises which are coming to an end. Natalie Brand has more details from Capitol Hill.
Russia says more of its forces are pulling back from Ukraine's borders, but the U.S. and allies are skeptical, saying they see continued signs of troop buildup.
Our concern is that the troops that matter, those that are ringing Ukraine to the north, to the east, and to the south, are actually increasing their readiness.
President Biden is talking today with Germany's chancellor, one day after Olaf Scholz met with Russian President Vladimir Putin. While diplomacy is still the hope, Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin is in Belgium for meetings with NATO.
NATO is not a threat to Russia, and we remain ready to engage in dialogue and find a diplomatic way forward. But while we continue to work for the best, we must also be prepared for the worst.
Russian aggression is the topic of a hearing on Capitol Hill today. Lawmakers and the administration say the threat extends beyond Europe.
If an authoritarian leader anywhere in the world is able to invade their neighbor and take them over by force and deny them sovereignty, then this won't end at Ukraine. It'll happen all around the world.
The State Department says China, North Korea, Iran, and other authoritarian governments are watching. Natalie Brand, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
Ukraine saw cyber attacks on its defense ministry and 2 big banks on Tuesday. Many analysts say that's exactly what would happen prior to troops moving across the border. Both the U.S. and Ukraine have stopped short of pinning those attacks on Russia, but it remains the #1 suspect. The Kremlin denies any link to the cyber attacks. Prosecutors are asking for a 7-year sentence for former Minnesota police officer Kim Potter, who killed Daunte Wright. Potter was convicted in December of first and second degree manslaughter. She says she mistakenly shot the 20-year-old black man last April with a gun instead of a taser, while the maximum penalty is 15 years in prison and or $30,000 fine. Minnesota sentencing guidelines give judges discretion to sentences offenders with no criminal history between 6 and 8.5 years in prison. Her sentencing hearing is scheduled for Friday. Gardening isn't easy in the dead of winter. Coming up at noon, we'll tell you about a Minnesota man who found a way to make his garden bloom despite the snow and the cold. But next, cold temps are settling in and more dicey weather is on the way. We have a breakdown of your forecast.